Sorry I'm late. Had to put some fertilizer in the corn planter. Martin Heidegger is a famous German philosopher, and somewhere in his later works, he talked about what a terrible thing it is that German peasants would have to put fertilizer in their fields. We'll get to that in a minute. This is Shostakovich Piano Concerto No. 2, Andante. Here's a comment. As a schoolboy at a boarding school in Ireland in the late 50s, I wrote to Dmitri Shostakovich when he was in the hospital in Leningrad. He was amused to receive a letter from an Irish kid, then wrote back. Years later, my wife and I were invited to meet Maxim Shostakovich at the Festival Hall in London. Almost 60 years ago, my wife at the time won the All England Ballet competition dancing to this beautiful Andante. It's nice. I like shit like that. It's hard to, if you get on YouTube, it's hard to find. It's going to try to give you the Symphony No. 2. It's hard to stop. Okay, we're going to do, I'm going to go through what's posted for paid subscribers only. And it's not very long, but it's dense. So I can certainly give you 20 minutes of my life to walk you through it. I think what you'll find is it's a compression of all the things that I've talked about for 5 years, to include new regulations, securities law, what has happened to crypto, what has happened to AI, what has happened to the financial system. It's all sort of compressed in this one thing. And that's why I've been almost quixotically, committed to this thing, because I knew we were going to wake up one day and the war is over. And I think that's what just happened in China. The trip to China is a giant nothing burger because Trump doesn't have anything. He's a clown and he's destroyed America. And I frankly, I really believe, and I'm going to talk about something else here in a minute, I really believe that when you look at the war on terror, you might go listen to Scott Ritter's piece on the parasitoid. You have to scroll back about 10 pieces to find it. And he goes through this thing about the jade green wasp that parasitoids an American cockroach. It stings it in the spine. That was 9/11. It stings it in the brain and overwhelms it with dopamine. When Israel invaded Lebanon in the 80s, the first thing they did was capture all the doctors and put them in jail. So everybody knew there was no doctors at the hospitals. The second thing they did was they flooded all the TV stations with pornography. I've been watching The Shield. I love The Shield. Remember that show with the big Greek guy, Vic Mackey and all that? Like, it came out right after 9/11, and like Americans, we all turned into like these new wacko creatures. We all turned into Vic Mackeys. If you watch that show, you can see, I remember watching it at the time, and I had a sensation like America's changing. Yeah, it's because the parasitoids stung us in the brain. And, all the freedom's not free, like all of that, like, Germany went through the same thing in the 30s. Just hold on and I'll explain why I'm going through this. Then it takes control of the cockroach's arm so it can lay an egg. And like the arm is like our army, right? And that whole thing that played out over the last 25 years, I'm hoping, praying that it's now over. has a parasite is different than a parasitoid because the parasitoid kills its host. I think Zionism, I'll just blurt it out. I think Zionism has killed the host. What do you mean? America. I really believe that the America that I grew up in doesn't exist anymore. We don't have a federal government. We don't have, you know, um, most Americans have some sense of people aren't allowed to come into your house unless they have a warrant, a really good reason. They're not allowed to pull you out of your car, search your car. It's all gone, people. It's all gone. So this is also the weekend anniversary of the Nakba, which was the beginning of the ethnic cleansing of Palestine. I think it was 78 years ago. That real good-looking guy that, what's his name, Barim? I don't know, sorry. Javier Barim or something, I guess was the producer of it. So I've been thinking about this, like, what am I going to do now that the war's over? Is not really a lot. Have you noticed there's very little content on Substack. Nobody really knows what to say about anything anymore. Um, uh, like, look at the Drudge Report. There's nothing there. Like, the whole trip was a big nothing burger. Anyways, tomorrow, in celebration of the Nakba, the ethnic cleansing of Palestine in 1948, or maybe even 48. Yeah, I think in 1948. I'm going to start a new thing on Hannah Arendt. Arendt. I think I'm pronouncing it right. And I know her name from studying philosophy at Yale. I did my paper on Heidegger. She was a student of Heidegger's. She was a student of Jasper's. I know I'm getting down in the weeds of philosophy with you, but just hang out. And then she communicated with Gershom Scholem, who's like the Hebrew scholar, German Israeli. And they had like a sort of a public argument about Israel. And the more I come back to this woman, the more interesting I find her. She's not really interested in what you would in academia would be called philosophy. She's more interested in like a political discourse and critique and so forth. And I think right now in America, we have really no idea what the fuck to do. I mean, we have AOC, MTG left the country. Thomas Massey's going head to head with Miriam Adelson in Tennessee. Like, we're fucked. We got Gavin Newsom. We're going to hang our hat on Gavin fucking Newsom. I think we're really like at a sort of a ground zero. Anyway, so I'm gonna do some work on her. I'm watching this video. You can find it. It's about an hour and 20 minutes. It's called Hannah Arendt, What Remains. It's an interview with Gunter Gauss. And, you're going to have to get a little like academic. I think a lot of people that have a theological mind, like a lot of evangelical people, will enjoy listening to her. My takeaway after being about half the way through it is that she's explaining how the Nazis and the Zionists, like, both grew out of Germany and then America in her lifetime. Now, most people think that those two things are opposites. That's like saying, to me, it's like saying two sets of gangsters are opposites. So that's that. We'll do Hannah tomorrow. I think all the things that she taught, and I like it. She chain smokes, and everybody used to smoke back then. I think we should maybe pick that back up. And everybody needs to calm down a little bit. And an unfiltered, European cigarette's a good way to do that. But let's get into, what's available. I never get on here and say, please subscribe if you like my work. I never say that because it's not my vibe. If you like the work, you're going to hit the buttons anyways, right? But I will say it this time because I think there's an element of what I'm about to read to you that's going to be an investment opportunity. As we get to the end of it, I'll explain the Reg A Plus offering. Right now, we're just bringing in partners who are going to really operate as franchise operators, for master agents. Like they're literally going to have a M5 computer running software that we recommend to them and integrating it with what we're building. Okay, so they're going to have to operate. If they don't operate, something happens, whatever, we'll just buy them out. Okay, so there's 99 of those, and like about a third of them are spoken for. The wires have started to roll in this week, excuse me. We have an engagement letter. I'll finish that at the end. It's because I have it in my email now. I'll read it to you. I'll name the names and everything. This is going out to everybody, but if you really want to get into the guts of this, I'm going to purposely sort of spin through it so you get like a curiosity and want to go read it and really dig into it. But there's an investment opportunity. I think there's almost like a political opportunity, meaning we both know, everybody on both sides of the fence know that our capitalist democratic system doesn't work anymore. If Tom Smassi has to go head to head, not with another candidate, but with Miriam Adelson, it's like Hannah Arendt time. You're like dealing with totalitarianism. Follow me? So as you see, there's two things going on here. It's not just about the money. It's about how the money is controlled. This is like a big thing. This is why I got like all wacko when I learned about blockchain. I didn't hear about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is an interesting project. I think it has its place in the universe. It just never did it. It's just, to me, it's just like, hey, there's another thing out there that we can inflate and we can all chase it higher and higher, and that's going to save us. No, that's the same fucking thing that Americans can't get away from. And what I want to say is we have to stop chasing shit higher and higher and higher and actually build things. Like we have to grow some cows and shit. Okay. In the financial community, you can't get away from the fact that the 30-year bond just popped above 5%. Everybody's sitting on Long Island with a really strong drink right now with their Russian call girl and going, oh my God, the discount rate is blowing up. In other words, they're going to be back in Monday morning. For lay people, I'm trying to make this a little cartoonish. Just all the calculations change on Monday morning. Somebody DM'd me the kind of stuff I like and said, a bundle of mortgages changed 25 basis points, 0.25%. Now, for most lay people, if you go to buy a Ford pickup truck and the guy says 7.5% interest, then he comes back and says, sorry, it's going to be 7.75%. You don't really blow your steam off whenever that happens. When you do that to trillions of dollars, it makes your head explode. And that's what's just happened. Because the other fact, when you think about interest, you think, well, I have to pay this extra money for the cost of the money. But the other thing is, and this is what I tried to put up 2 or 3 things on yesterday, the value of those mortgages dropped. Globally, mortgages dropped Friday, I don't know, maybe 2.5% in like a couple hours, which if you wanted to feel that in the stock market, what would that be? It'd be like the stock market going down like 1,500 points or 1,800 points. It would catch your attention. Then, one more thing. The financing of the AI, hyperscaler, OpenAI stuff is so enormous. A lot like the mortgage crisis. There was like $1 trillion worth of bad mortgages or questionable mortgages. There's probably only half of that were really the problem. Anyways, so we have like $1 trillion of all this cash flow from the big tech companies and private equity and of course, all this infrastructure that's going to be forced on the American people, their water, their natural gas, their property rights and everything this is why I'm going Hannah Arendt tomorrow. We're living in something that's a lot like what the Germans lived through leading up to it's sort of like the 30s and 40s all mixed together here. When you tweak the interest rates, against all those questionable trillions of dollars of fucked up cash flows, you can go bankrupt real quick. In other words, you owned a house in 2008 and maybe you had to change jobs or take a pay cut, or your wife's job. And we all went through a little thing where we didn't buy a car for a couple of years. So maybe we would have bought a car a year or two earlier. And then maybe we got a home equity loan so we could go on vacation. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got a little put. Now just take all that and just make your interest rates go from we did all that with 4, 5, 6% interest rates or something. Just do all that with 12 and 18% interest rates. You can see how bad the math goes. All right, let's get into it. That's enough content. We've created 5 years of content. Nobody needs any more content. Okay, so this thing is called the Bruno AI. We're just evolving from Bruno blockchain to AI because it's hipper. But what the moral of the story is AI and blockchain have merged, and I'm going to show you what we can do with it. The Bruno AI ecosystem: decentralized infrastructure, real-world tokenization, and agentic networks. See, we're not talking about agentic agents. We're talking about an agentic network. You haven't heard that before. What do you mean? You've heard it in things like, there was that one crazy thing that they did about a month ago. Somebody made 1,600 agents and sort of vandalized the internet with them or something. And then Facebook bought them. So we're trying to make the agentic network, franchise, syndicate, whatever you want to call it, federated system, multi-layered system. It's not the multi-level marketing thing to the degree that Panera Bread is multi-level, right? There's regional distribution, there's the local store, and then there's a corporation. We're going to build that network, both the infrastructure at the top and then recruit all these thousands of people underneath to all work together. Sort of a big pyramid. The convergence of AI, decentralized computing, real-world asset tokenization presents an unprecedented opportunity to re-architect local economies. This is, by the way, this is Manus, after me probably doing 20 of these, is actually sort of using my ideas and then in some ways saying them better. To re-architect local economies. That's my thing, people. That's my thing. This white paper outlines the comprehensive strategy for Bruno AI ecosystem, detailing its deployment on advanced Apple M5 hardware. Go check that shit out. Apple knocked the cover off. Everybody's like, why doesn't Apple have an AI strategy? They do. It's called the M5 chip. Integration with Chain Opera. Never heard of Chain Opera before, have you? You might want to check that out. And the operation of Operation Freelander. This is this thing I made up. It's just the localization placed onto Minnesota. And I made Freelander some sort of Settlers of Catan, Viking goddamn thing, for Minnesota. Furthermore, it details the scope of work for the initial hardware deployment in Austin to build. See, listen to me when I say this. The real goal of this is not just to make this pyramid of all these agents and people working with each other in Minnesota or any other state or any other country for that matter, but to eventually have it all lock on to hardware, which can be disconnected from the internet, completely disconnected from the cloud. By moving away from centralized cloud infrastructure and establishing a network of fully disconnected local hardware nodes, starting with land-grant universities, I'll get to that, Bruno ensures data sovereignty, low latency speed, and robust operational resilience. That's a pretty good paragraph. That's probably worth $9.95. Okay, then we go into, it starts to break down what Minnesota looks like. It breaks it down into area codes. It breaks down into M5. Go study M5s. You won't believe it. There's one called the M5 Max, and the regulating factor is either your iPad or your laptop will get hot. That's what limits it. It has way more firepower than anything we need. So we take that and we lock it into, I think, University of Minnesota or Minnesota. Sorry, Minnesota State. I think the University of Minnesota is the land grant university. These are like the ag universities that were made around the time of the Civil War. And they're already have this built-in decentralized thing around agriculture. So my thought is, why don't we just put the hardware next, either on campus or off campus or in a fraternity, not a fraternity, but you know what I mean? Just like in the general area. So people like, oh, so like you're going to have one of these operating like at Iowa State. Yeah. And like we could all go like look at it like during a football game. Yeah. So like it's our thing. It doesn't belong to Palantir or Jeff Bezos. Correct. Now, you may remember 4 years ago, we had the exact same conversation about Ethereum nodes. It's the same thing, people. My interest was always to use the Ethereum nodal decentralized system to do finance. And everybody went like this for 4 years. What? And now it's like every day the SEC says that everything is going to run on blockchain. You're welcome. I said that a couple weeks ago, and somebody said, "Don't say that." Here's how it breaks down the three chips. If you're a tech geek, this should be the fun part, right? This is like talking about like snowmobile engines or something. The M5, theory and productivity, best for AI students focusing on theory, standard software development, and general productivity. We'll never do anything that requires over an M5. Like to underwrite all the real estate and all the opportunity zones in Minnesota, it'll never outrun an M5. But some people, Toyota's has like a new coupe coming out. It's like 660 horsepower and like 640 feet of foot-pounds of torque. I'm like, what the fuck? Anyways, but people like that. M5 Pro, heavy data processing. The minimum requirement for heavy data science, large-scale financial modeling, NASDAQ and stock simulations, or 4K video pipelines. All right, let's just calm down there for a minute. Let's think of this. What if we give this thing, like we get a big, not just Minnesota. What if we let's have some fun. We got our 50 nodes working in each state. And then we have a master agent sitting on top. It says, hey, nodes, why don't you spend the weekend running $1 million to start into every opportunity zone? And the little agents will all go, that sounds like fun. You know, it's a finite mathematical puzzle. It's easy. Then estimate the economic consequence. Now that becomes very complicated. The knock-on effects of putting $1 million into downtown Somerset, Pennsylvania, which has never seen a fucking $1 million in the last 30 years, right? 90% of America has just been extracted like Scott Ritter's parasitoid. Then we go back to it and say, all right, what would $10 million look like? What would $100 million look? What do you mean 100? I don't know. What would it look like? They're putting $1 trillion into chips that will all fucking burn up in 4 years. That's what AI is right now. That's what these data centers are. They're like the one in Utah is what? 9 gigawatts of gaming chips burning themselves up. Can we build high speed? No, there's no money for that. No, we have to go burn up microprocessors in the Utah desert. Parasitoid. The brain is gone. We're having decisions made by Kevin O'Leary. Kevin O'Leary is an asshole. Nobody should be giving that guy any money for anything. He's an asshole. He's not left, right, this, that. He's just an asshole. America's being run by assholes. The M5 Max. Now, this is local AI training and virtualization. Like, this is the kind of thing where you'd actually compete with Kevin O'Leary. Essential for training, fine-tuning local AI models, 3D environmental design, managing massive virtualized environments. Oh. See, the real interesting metaverse is not that creepy fucking thing that Mark Zuckerberg made. The real interesting meta universe is the one that connects to the real universe. That's what we're building, people. That's what we're doing here for 5 years. After we get done murdering all the brown people and all the Muslim children, and we realize America's almost on the edge of bankruptcy, which is where we are. That's why the 30-year bond went over 5%. Then we'll stop doing that and go, fuck. 2.3, securing Bruno AI. They'll move to local disconnected hardware. That's self-explanatory. Strategic deployment, land-grant universities. I just explained that to you. When they rolled out, they literally gave like 1,000 acres, 2,000 acres to each state to go build. It was primarily for agriculture and other things, and education in general. But imagine, southern part of Somerset County is a very rural, isolated place. It's the second biggest Amish community in the world. Sorry, second oldest. In other words, if you didn't have land-grant universities and extension agents and so forth, how would information about farming even get out to these rural areas? Even a place like Iowa, it's just giant and flat. Like, how does information disseminate? Well, they made these land-grant universities. And we used to make 14 pounds of milk per cow, and now we make 140 pounds of milk per cow. I'm not making this up. Like, in a lot of areas, since the land-grant universities, agricultural production is up 100x. 10x. I should have said 10x, right? 14. Yeah, sorry. 10x. Chain Opera. Go check it out. Nobody knows what it is. It was developed at USC and Caltech. It's this blockchain meets AI kind of a thing. It's like Eric Clapton plays the blues on a Marshall. Like, you just can't get away from it when you put the two together. We have a scope. It threw out a scope of work, which is now in the hands of Ali and in Austin at my teams. They're like, you really think we can do it? I'm like, yeah, we can do this. I was like, just go look at Chain Opera this weekend. And this was last weekend. I said, you guys can help us pick the hardware and so forth, and we'll just run everything on M5s. And he's like, really? I'm like, really? What his reaction wasn't that they don't know what to do with the tech. His reaction was, oh my God, you're going to scale. Yeah, we're going to scale this. And his brain was processing like, you're going to like push this tech that nobody knows are out to 5,000 people. Exactly. And then as you'll see here at the end, and we're going to raise $25 million to do it. Integration with Substack and social channels, that's just Web3. Here, this is neat that it picked this up. A prompt box, the basic thing like you see at Manus or ChatGPT, where you just go, how do you make turkey chili or whatever, and you just type it in and it starts to throw out answers. The prompt box itself will begin the process of real-world asset tokenization. What? Yeah. So a grain farmer in Iowa grows 12,000 acres of primarily soy and corn and soybeans, and gets the joke and goes, no, I'd like to do this regenerative agriculture thing. My kids and grandkids live in town. They somehow want to get involved. 8-year-olds can't really drive tractors, but I would like to either get into sheep or cattle or both, and I want to see how to do that. Maybe I need to raise money. Maybe I need to breed cattle with other people at the same time, share genetics, trucking, so on and so forth. How do I do that? Well, as he's typing, it's moving through the system and it's just hanging there, just like Google Gemini. It's just hanging there and go like, boop. Why don't you think about doing this in your area code? We've already set up the infrastructure. There's a node at Iowa State University being run by Hannah Montana, whoever. See where I'm going with this? And it's just sitting there waiting for him or her, whatever. Here, it gave us a thing. Hey, Bruno, I'm interested in blah, blah, blah target project in our rural area. Can you explain how tokenizing this as a real world asset would work? Specifically, how can we use fractional ownership to attract small scale investors for our local community? And what are the steps to ensure this project qualifies for rural development grants? I'm not so focused on that. Provide a simple breakdown of how that's usually what it happens is people go down the grant thing and then you just are completely in bed with the government and they own you. And we don't want to do that. Provide a simple breakdown of how the blockchain handles the proof of intelligence. Now, this is a specific thing created by the Chain Opera people, where Bitcoin, get a little crypto-y here for just 90 seconds. Bitcoin runs on this proof of work protocol, where you have to solve some mathematical puzzle in order to put another block on the blockchain, and you get paid in Bitcoin for it. Ethereum originally worked on that, and it moved to proof of stake. So if you have, 32 ETH staked? Yeah. I haven't thought about this for a long time. You have 32 ETH stake, you can become a node, and you get paid to have that Ethereum software available for a transaction. And you're like in a queue, and as you move up the queue, you have to place this. It doesn't matter what kind of hardware you have. You could run it on an Apple laptop or a big server. I think eventually it may have already arrived. Vitalik Buterin said, I want the Ethereum blockchain to be able to be executed by iPhones, by cell phones. So you're doing the work. Their thing, and this is like a deep crypto-y thing that I don't think anybody's even heard before, is this. I'm starting to do the Trump thing. It scares me a little bit. Is the proof of intelligence? Make sure I'm saying this right.